To the same old problems, I thought I solved them. Fell so far, I broke through the bottom. Wound up back at square one, losing a battle that I thought I had.
All right, everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of Behind the Wall Banter. Today it's just me and Henry here, and
up?
we're going to discuss the two new teams this year that are coming into the Cup Series, Team Trackhouse and 23XI Racing. Don't know if it's supposed to
2311.
say XI11, but
It's 11.
yeah, driver for Team Trackhouse, Daniel Suarez, and then obviously all the news around Bubba Wallace going to 2311 Racing. We've had discussions about this before. Is Bubba Wallace really that great? Is he living up to like the hype that's around his name? And he's with a top tier team next year. He's going to have really good fast Toyotas. They're going to find a way, I feel like, to work with Joe Gibbs Racing. But then you have Daniel Suarez, an Xfinity Series champion. Justin Marks has racing experience. He knows the sport. Michael Jordan, I guess, doesn't know it, but they got Denny Hamlin there. Who's going to be the better driver in 2021?
Well, first of all, you're forgetting about Live Fast Racing. We had just talked about it like 2 seconds ago. So they're in the mix too. They got BJ McLeod and Ryan Ellis. So they ain't going to do anything, but the other two teams, they will do something, hopefully. I guess I'll start it out because you had mentioned earlier about Justin Marks. What leads you to believe that, first of all, I think that Bubba Wallace is going to have a better season next year just based on the equipment he's going to have in the team. But what makes you think that Justin Marks having a history in the sport is going to propel them to be a decent team?
Well, I think you just look at knowing the NASCAR community and just knowing how the sport works. Michael Jordan, he's obviously the biggest name in basketball, and they got Denny Hamlin on board, but Denny's a driver. He doesn't know the ownership aspect of the sport. Where Justin Marks, he's fielded cars in various races. He, if I remember right, he attempted the Snowball Derby a couple weeks ago, and he was the owner of the car, and he also drove it with Team Trackhouse all over the car. So I think just knowing the sport, being a part of the sport, allows you to kind of have an advantage versus somebody coming in the sport and not knowing anything and just wanting to field a car.
But you know that NASCAR is a money-driven sport. If you want to run well, you need a little bit of this. So, yeah, you can have all the knowledge you want, and Justin Marks does have the knowledge. But Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, they have the money. They have their team is going to be an absolute cash cow, and they're fully sponsored for next year. I don't know about Trackhouse, and I guess what do they have? Eris and I don't know.
A couple
They're not.
sponsors that
Yeah, I just don't
Suarez
think
is
that they're
bringing over.
pulling in as much money. But if you look at the equipment they're going to be in, I mean, it's basically once again we got a fifth JGR car. Bubba Wallace, he's driven in okay equipment. You know, he's been racing for ever since he's been in Cup. He's been in at Richard Petty Motorsports. And as time's gone on, they've gotten more support, and it's shown that he's able to run well. He's had a couple top 10s this year, a lot of top 15s. So he's making do in bad equipment. He's not in the best equipment, so you can't expect him to be contending for race wins. You get to my boy Daniel Suarez. Since he's been in Cup, who's he been with? Joe Gibbs Racing, Stuart Haas Racing. What has he done? Diddly squat. He's in top tier equipment, and he couldn't even perform. 0 wins. What leads you to believe that he's going to turn it around on a brand new team in 2021?
I agree with you on the looking at the teams he's been with. He went, like you said, he's been with Stuart Haas and Joe Gibbs. But I think both of those years he's just kind of thrown in there as a placeholder. It's like, we don't want you, but we need you here. Goes in and wins an Xfinity Series title, and guy's got a lot of talent. And you go up to Cup Series, Carl Edwards retires when you don't expect him to. You're there so Truex can come the year after. Just a placeholder to have 4 cars in there and make some money because nobody else was ready in Xfinity at that point. And then you move over to basically the same position over at Stuart Haas. Kurt Busch leaves. There's a vacant 41 spot. Cole Custer's not ready for Cup. You go over there, hold the place for Cole Custer, and Cole Custer comes and steals your ride. Obviously, this year he did some pretty solid stuff with Gaunt Brothers, and I think now I think Team Trackhouse is going to have more funding than Gaunt Brothers has. I think that they're going to come in here. Daniel Suarez is going to have a fantastic season, and he can propel Team Trackhouse to be a competitive team in this year and hopefully years to come.
I disagree with you on the fact that he was a placeholder at Joe Gibbs Racing. And, yeah, surprise. I mean, more so, yeah, I agree with you with Stuart Haas. I mean, you needed a filler, but I don't think that they knew at the JGR camp that it was going to be it was a foregone conclusion that Truex was not going to have a team the following year. No, I didn't know that. I don't think really anyone knew that unless they were talks about Furniture Row Racing that this is their final season, but they didn't announce that until later in the year.
Yeah, but there's got to be talk somewhere within, because
I think that would happen later on in the year.
But the same thing happened with Christopher Bell going to the 95. I mean, you got to know
that's just financial stuff.
Yeah, but the affiliation between there's 7 Toyotas within the whole Cup Series on average. You got 4 of them at JGR, and then 1 of them at whatever team's affiliated with them. There's got to be talk between Furniture Row that, hey, this team's shutting down, because they're not going to announce it halfway through the season. Hey, then in 95, Christopher Bell goes there. I think Matt DiBenedetto kind of threw a wrench in the whole thing, but Christopher Bell goes there, and he was a JGR driver. Go there, and now look where he's at. He's going to the 20 car to drive it in 2021. So there's something going on there.
Well, I think the Furniture Row, the reason they shut down is because they lost sponsorship with 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy left. They decided not to re-sign midway through the season, so that's what stuck the fork in the plan. So if 5 Hour Energy was back, you could still have Martin Truex in that ride. So I think that with Stuart Haas Racing more so, yeah, there was a placeholder. But Joe Gibbs Racing, I really think that Joe Gibbs believed that Suarez was going to be in that ride for years to come. And you look at the drivers before Carl Edwards racing that car, and he won a lot. And originally we were going to talk about the best drivers without a championship. That was my pick, Carl Edwards. I mean, great driver. He performed in a 19 car. Then you get the year after that, Truex in that car. What does he do? Wins races. You get Cole Custer in the 41 car. What does he do? Wins a race. What is Daniel Suarez not been able to do in either of those rides? Win a race.
But you look at 2017, his first season with Joe Gibbs Racing full time. He got a top 5, 12 top 10s, and he led 40 laps. That's his second most, or the most top 10s he's had in a season going to 2019 when he ended up getting 11 top 10s. He had a pretty solid season. For his first season in the Cup, they said it when Cole Custer won. You don't get a rookie driver to come into the Cup Series and win in their first season. It rarely happens. And the fact that Daniel Suarez was able to go and get a top 5, go and get a couple top 10s, that's a third of the season he's finishing in the top 10. I think it's pretty impressive. And it's also his best average finishing position of his career.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Bubba Wallace by far is going to have the better season. He's got better funding, better ride, better alliance. I think he's a better driver. He's been in, like I said, terrible equipment until late this year when they picked up more sponsors. But, looking at it, Trackhouse in a couple of years, they could be a contender. Maybe not, depending on how things go. They could be like a 2-year and done type team. You don't know. It's just that's NASCAR. But I think 23-11, not XI, 23-11, they're going to have a great season next year. I could definitely see him contending for 1-2 wins. Definitely getting, especially with Bubba Wallace in that ride. I think he's got the experience. He's got the know-how. He knows how to race a car. He's got incredible funding. He's got sponsors. He's a very polarizing image in NASCAR. I just think that once the 2021 season comes to a close, at the end of the day, he's going to be the driver that surprised everyone and had the better season for a team's first year in the Cup Series.
Well, I also want to point out when looking at these stats, among all the starts in the Cup Series for Bubba Wallace and Daniel Suarez has more top fives season after season than Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace 2018, 2019, and 2020.
Who's he been racing for? Bubba Wallace wasn't with JGR.
It's
He
Richard
wasn't with
Petty
Stuart
Racing.
Haas. He's
It's-
with Richard Petty Racing. What do they do there? All they
It's-
do is, I mean, they finished top 20.
I know,
Yeah, Suarez is
come
going to
in
have the
there.
better stats. He's with the better teams.
You can come in there and do something with the car. They say it's the driver. Go to the short tracks. They always talk about how, oh, it's the driver that's doing this. It's the great equalizer. One of these great equalizers, yeah, he finished 6th at Martinsville this year, but what has he really done in the past? Wow, you finished 2nd in the Daytona 500. Congrats. Can't hang your
Anyone
hat
can do
on
that.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know. I just think going to it, and then even looking at Xfinity Series, that Bubba Wallace has 85 starts. Daniel Suarez has 84. In those 84 wins, Daniel Suarez has 3 wins, 33 top fives, and 55 top tens.
Who's he
Bubba
racing for?
Wallace has 0 wins, 6 top fives, and 35 top tens.
Who did Suarez race for in Xfinity Series?
Daniel Suarez
What
raced
team?
for Joe Gibbs, while
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Bubba
Oh, the
Wallace was
powerhouse that
racing
is
for
Joe Gibbs.
Bubba Wallace
Dude.
raced for Roush Fenway Racing while his teammate won a championship in the series. The car's got speed. He just can't drive it.
I think he can drive the car, and you know it's a hard conversation because you have two drivers who are skilled in what they do, but you have different team skill. You have two teams that are very funded, and you have one team that's they're going to be a 20th place runner. I think this next year is going to be the real. You're going to be able to tell who the real wheelman is, and Bubba Wallace has said it this year. He's got no more excuses. You can run the excuse to the ground that he's not with a good team, and I think that's very valid. That his team is not good. They're not a winning team. They're barely a top 10 team on a lucky day. So I think that this is either going to be a breakout season or it's going to be a bust season for Bubba Wallace. He's all of his cards are on the table, all of his chips are on the table. He's got to perform or he's going to be run out of the Cup Series.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be really interesting to see. We got 3 new teams, a bunch of drivers in different places, and Eric Jones in the 43 replacing Bubba Wallace. See if that team's really as bad as what Henry makes it out to be. We'll see what Eric Jones can do in it. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in to episode 2 of Behind the Wall Banter. We'll end it here before we end up throwing punches through the screen. But all right, thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.
Adios.
Problems I